All right, you are listening to episode 3 of Cinema Dream. Today we are going to review Dan Trachtenberg's Prey, MadKatMelody. Are you excited?
Oh man.
Have you ever heard of Dan Trachtenberg before?
Yes, I have. When apparently his first movie that I had seen, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know who he was. Right? It was a fan made film. But I loved. What was it called? 13. What was the address? 11 Cloverfield
10,
Lane.
10 Cloverfield Lane.
10? Was it 10?
Yeah, that's 10.
Well, I didn't remember the address, but I loved that movie.
According to Wikipedia, that's his only film.
He made a fan film called Portal about Portal. It was like in the universe of the game Portal.
Oh, okay.
And that blew up because, back in those days when people were doing all the crazy effects with portals and flipping through portals and doing crazy stuff, that kind of science fiction, when they take a simple concept and they stretch it, that always gets me going.
Do you think, I guess a quick pop quiz, do you think that Dan Trachtenberg, is he related to Michelle Trachtenberg from one of your favorite series? Yes or no?
One of my favorite series. I assume you're talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah. Is he
I
related to her?
didn't look into that. Maybe I didn't do as much research. You're exposing my lack of research. I wouldn't guess that I don't know how popular that name is.
So it's a yes or no question, big dog.
No, I would, if I had to bet money on it, I'd say no. Do you know the answer?
Oh, you just lost your money. Because they are, in fact, not related. Okay, yeah, so here's my quick, I guess, summary of Prey.
Yes, I'm so excited.
A young Comanche Native American woman named Naru, who is played by Amber Midthunder. It deals with her and her tribe, and within her tribe, she's expected to have the traditional role of gatherer. You can take the hunter out of hunter and gatherer and just put gatherer. That seems to be the traditional role for females within the tribe, at least in this film. In the actual Comanche tribe, I have no idea. She doesn't want to be a gatherer. She wants to be a hunter. She wants to be a warrior, like all the men in the tribe, like her brother. Her mother is not so approving of it. Neither are most of the male hunters in the tribe. Her brother, he seems pretty supportive. Now, to be a hunter, everyone has a rite of passage. That passage is a katamia. It's kind of like, well, I was going to say it's like a serious ass quinceañera, but
I'm glad you did say that.
no, just it's a very serious rite of passage. Okay, so in order to prove yourself to prove to yourself and to prove to everyone else that you are worthy of being a hunter, right? So that's what's on her mind. Her mother constantly tells her that she is stubborn, doesn't listen, but she's so good at so many other things. Why does she need to be a hunter? To which she responds, because nobody believes I can, right? Now, you may be asking yourself, where does the predator fit in? Well, just like our predators, they just come down to hunt some people that's weaker than them because they got this advanced alien technology. And they're like, look, we are the superior just because we got this super advanced technology, not naturally.
They are physically superior.
They are. And maybe they're more intelligent. I don't know. But I will say that with predator, people have always been like, oh, they're the ultimate warriors. Look how badass they are. And I was like, well, I'd be badass too if I had all this advanced alien technology. But yeah, the predator, who's more feral in his appearance and maybe mannerisms, I don't remember Predator too well. He comes down to this film? It says it takes place in, was it 1917? 1719. I don't know why I said 19.
Yeah,
It takes place in 1719.
1970.
Yeah, no, right?
Sherlock Holmes times.
That's not far from us. It takes place in 1719, and it's interesting because it starts off saying that it's in the northern Great Plains, but to my knowledge, the Comanche resided in the southern Great Plains, but whatever.
They moved down to the southern Great Plains because of the predators.
Good on you, MadKat. So, wrapping up this not so brief summary, there's a point where they have to capture a lion. And I probably should say this, but we will have spoilers in this. They set out to capture a lion because one of their tribal men is injured from the lion, and he's a nuisance. She goes out with her brother, and the other warriors disapprove, but her brother says that she can track it, and he looks at her, he's like, well, now you don't have a choice, you have to track it. So they track it, she injures the lion, but she also falls and hits her head on a rock, getting knocked out. Brother carries her back to base, the brother then kills the lion and brings it back. But the whole time she's telling everybody, there's something else out there. It's not just a bear or just a lion, and it's the predator. Hence, we go into all the predator shenanigans. Okay, that's my brief impromptu summary. Matt, did you find this movie enjoyable, somewhat enjoyable,
Enjoyable.
unenjoyable? I mean, damn, can I finish?
I'm sorry, that was rude.
It's okay. So typically the criteria is enjoyable, somewhat enjoyable, or unenjoyable, somewhat unenjoyable. You fall under enjoyable, correct?
Yes.
Right. I would also fall under enjoyable. So with that being said, I've been blabbering enough. You can start.
Okay, so I kind of knew I was going to like this movie because it's what I would call, maybe it's not the correct term, but what I would call a survival horror. And most of the time when I'm going to see a horror movie, especially a movie like this that is in a different world, right? Like slasher flicks is just they go out camping, and I've been out camping, or they're stuck in a hotel or a haunted hotel or something. But here, they're actually in a different time period, in a different place. And I like thinking like, would I survive? How would I survive? What should I do? You know, I might see somebody in a movie and think, oh, I don't know how to do that skill that he does. Maybe I should do that. And of course, after the movie's done, I'm not going to probably learn lockpicking or whatever. But it's fun to imagine myself transported into this world and thinking how I would fare. And I just, from the, I don't know, the sense, something about the sense of the movie made me tell, like, I was going to be able to put myself in this movie like I have previously. Maybe it's the certain shots in the movie lend themselves to just enjoying nature and being out there.
Really?
You didn't think you could enjoy nature in the shots?
I mean, I thought that the cinematography was acceptable, but it doesn't necessarily strike me as look at these beautiful vistas.
It struck me.
Like Midsummer, which I don't even like Midsummer.
Well,
you know
Midsummer
that,
is on another level because of the colors that they could, you know, all the flowers and stuff.
but,
But just certain techniques, like at night, because this is a pre-metropolitan civilization time.
Mhm.
At night, you would find campfires and you would find, you know, their tents and stuff, and then everything around where these characters were lit up would just be black,
Yeah.
a sea of black. And so when they would walk towards the camp, they would just come out of darkness and they would go back into the darkness when they walked away from camp. And just like a stage, you know, people walk on and off stage and it's like they don't exist anymore. You know, it's like I'm a little baby without object permanence. I thought that was nice and creepy and put me in a certain mood during the nighttime. And then during the day, they would have wide shots where she's walking, and I can't tell for sure that they were shooting on location, but I would be surprised if they didn't shoot on location because, you know, it's people criticize certain superhero films because they'll have rubble set pieces where you're looking down at just, you know, fake styrofoam streets and blown up buildings, and it's like, well, clearly this is a set. And in this movie, I mean, there's one shot that I've got in my head that I'm thinking about right now that I think is reminiscent of them walking in Lord of the Rings. There's another shot in the water that I was like, that's truly inspired when the bear scene, right?
Yeah.
And they use strategically, not throughout most of the movie, but strategically, which is kind of jarring, but I still appreciated just a moment. The lens flare, you know, she's looking up at this.
You said lens flare. Do you mean J.J. Abrams?
Well, it
That was
wasn't.
a bad joke. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You can tell like she's looking up and the sun is behind this gruesome scene that she's looking at of the predator, you know, fighting this bear. And you can tell like it's hard to look, but she can't look away because the way they frame the scene with the wood, the trees that she's out of, and you can't see the predator. He's invisible until he lifts up this bear and the blood drenches down and suddenly you can see him. It's like an Invisible Man movie, right?
Yeah. I wanted him to do the Arnold Schwarzenegger battle cry from the first Predator movie. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah. And he's got the torch, right?
Yeah, and the score is like dun 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 dun. I wanted the Predator to yell like that when he picked up the bear. You know, I will say, because you're talking about, I guess, cinematography, there was one shot that I loved, and I wish it was a little longer. It was when they were running through the fields of wheat, and the Predator was chasing. It was over the helicopter camera view, and you can see her running, and you can just see how fast the Predator is just barreling through the field.
I'm glad it wasn't a longer shot because it was scary how fast he was and how fast the clips were because I was like, oh man, what is she going to do?
Was it like a adrenaline steeped in fear or was it an adrenaline steeped in excitement?
Well, in the excitement, I would say, because I didn't, if she was going to die, I didn't think she was going to die. I knew she wasn't going to die because somebody spoiled that for me. But And they were so disappointed in me because they posted something on Facebook. I said spoilers, and they were like, "Oh, well, I thought that was obvious. Everybody knew that she would win at the end." And I told them, this is about the horror genre again. But I told them, I was like, I guess in retrospect, it makes sense she would win. Horror seems to be the last bastion of not knowing what's going to happen at the end, and if the good guys are going to win. That's what I look at for horror. That's another reason I look for horror. Right? I mean, I guess if I looked back at all the Alien versus or the Predator movies, the good guy, the humans. I shouldn't say the good guys. The humans are winning usually, but I like at the end of like a horror movie doesn't have to have a happy ending, and that way, since it doesn't have to have a happy ending, according to me,
The best ones don't.
yeah, the best ones don't. But that means when there is a happy ending, I feel like it's more earned because it wasn't forced.
Okay.
So at the end of this movie, when she defeats the Predator. You were talking about a battle cry, right? I was in that moment with her where I was like, because she, battle cries are probably a lot more common to her than they would be in my everyday life going, commuting to work or whatever. But I could see in that moment, like, yeah, hell yeah, I'd battle cry. Because sometimes if I imagine like being loud, screaming at the top of my lungs or, howling at the moon, there's a little thing in the back of my mind that's like, oh, I'm going to look ridiculous and people are going to make fun of me. But if I just killed a predator, you can make fun of me all you want. I'm untouchable. You know what I mean?
I'm laughing because I imagine you killing a predator and you do this war cry. You're so amped up. And because you just did that war cry, you alerted another predator and your head just gets chopped off. And then the credits just instantly start rolling. Yeah, man, I definitely don't look at this as a horror, but I think if you are persnickety about it, a lot of film genres can blend into other genres, right?
Yeah. I mean, so would you say it's an action?
That's the easiest thing for my brain to divert to. Is like,
Would
yeah,
you
it's an
call
action.
the original Predator movie an action movie?
Yeah.
Because when I look at the original Predator movie, it definitely starts out as an action. It's all these huge muscular guys, and they're like, hey, we're all going to be Rambo this weekend, right? Yeah, we're going to be Rambo and shoot some bad guys, and we'll have some fun, and we'll smoke some cigars, right? But then they get out into the woods, and as big as their guns are, and as big as their muscles are, and as big as their everything is, they are completely outmatched. And I like that feeling where it's like, because if you look at, The Walking Dead or any zombie flick, usually you'll have regular people that are like in a suit and tie that go to work every day and like punch a card in and they're in a cubicle. And of course, they're going to be freaked out and scared that, something's trying to kill them. But if you see Arnold Schwarzenegger freaked out and scared that something's kind of trying to kill him, that amplifies horror. I feel like that's what they were trying to do.
Well, yeah, it's the classic trope or I guess explanation where it's like Predator is literally just like a teen slasher movie, but the teens are these buff dudes that would normally be like the power players, and Predator is like your Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's ironic because I think that's what the first Predator did, which is why it's weird they went to the second Predator and they went to Danny Glover. He's not exactly what I think of when I think of peak physical.
I legit didn't see the second Predator.
Most people shouldn't. But so one I did have a discussion with somebody and they were talking about this isn't the discussion you think you're thinking, but they were talking about inclusion in movies and girl power and how recent movies have. I have this discussion a lot actually. And they were like, "Oh, there's no reason to remake all these movies and just have a girl protagonist." And I said, actually, I could see in the horror genre specifically there being a reason to make it a female because that amplifies so many things. If you're worried, like the Alien movies are about like body horror and being afraid something's going to penetrate you, right?
Okay.
And so if you have a woman in that role whose frame is not jacked Arnold Schwarzenegger type frame and someone who is smaller and more gentle, then you can be more scared for them. Because if you're in a horror movie, you're supposed to be scared for somebody, right? The main character, you're supposed to be in their fear. Also, as an underdog, you can root for them. And that's why I said it's ironic.
Was this person referring to Prey when they said that?
Yes, among other movies.
Is Prey a remake or is it just another addition to the series?
It's an addition, but obviously it's an addition where they decided to subvert expectations and make a female protagonist.
Did they say that?
Well, they didn't say that, but it does subvert some people's expectations.
I'm going to be honest, like if somebody was like, hey, there's a new Predator, I wouldn't automatically assume that the protagonist is a guy. I mean, wasn't Sanaa Lathan in Alien vs. Predator? Yeah, she was like the main character.
Yes, I do remember there was a female main character, but I could also imagine, especially since I believe the Predator franchise had said that the Alien vs. Predator movies are not canon. But regardless of that, it makes sense to me that if the first Predator movie started with the manliest men they could get, that people could expect manly men going forward. And then you have Shane Black made the Predator movie, the last Predator movie, right? And Shane Black is known for these like guy movies, you know?
Was that the one with Adrian Brody?
No, Adrian Brody was Predators.
I think I've only seen 2 Predator films.
Okay, so they had Predator, Predator 2, the Alien versus Predator movies. Then they had Predators. Then they had The Predator. And now they have Prey. So the Predator naming
I'm
convention.
glad Prey decided a different name. This is horrible.
They were running out of ideas, so they had to go with something. And
Predators with an apostrophe.
that's another thing that I really think was clever about this movie, because it's called Prey, right? And you said you went into it not knowing it was a Predator movie. And so this alien comes down, and you see him watching the wildlife, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he starts out, I remember there's this like rat or something and a snake, and he's just standing there observing, creepily observing. Something I can relate to. And so he's learning, like, oh, this is the predator and this is the prey. And he's learning that because they have, in the predator culture, there's an honor, right? You want to go against the predators. You want to go against something that's a threat. That's something that's live by the sword, die by the sword is what I always thought of when I think of the predators. Because, in the Predator, you didn't see the second one. But in the second movie, there are these cops. And he's like killing cops and criminals. And then there's a cop who he doesn't kill. And you see through the like infrared predator vision that she's pregnant. And so he sees like a defenseless little creature and he's like, oh, that would be dishonorable. So constantly he's looking, he sees a bunny rabbit and a wolf and he's like, okay, I'm going to go after the wolf. Right. And so then when he meets our main character,
Naru,
she frequently looks like the prey. Right. At the beginning of the movie. Which is why she has time to observe him and learn and become a threat, right?
Well, I mean, there's a point where he's like definitely about to kill her ass.
Yeah, but then she gets caught in the trap.
Yeah, that bear trap.
Because she's the prey to the French guys, right? The Canadian guys.
Yeah.
So she's being hunted, and so he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill the hunters. I want to kill hunters. I don't want to kill huntees, right?" And she's lucky that she frequently she's lucky she got trapped in that bear trap because otherwise she'd be dead.
I would have thought encountering the Voyagers as a Native American means lucky, but in that moment it did.
Yeah. And it was nice to see the clever like reversals and ways that she survived because somebody was creative rather than, oh, this thing is faster than you. So we're just going to do a whole bunch of cuts so that even though it's 10 times faster than you, the camera, every time we cut over to the predator, it's still like 50 feet away, that would have been dumb. That's why I liked how quick those shots were when the predator's running after her. Just enough to feel like, wow, he's going to get you,
I just wanted to appreciate the beauty a little more. That's all.
Yeah.
I will say, earlier you brought up when she dove underwater trying to get away from the bear and she goes in this little like fortified nest, if you will.
It was a dam, right?
I'm not sure, but I was like, man, those have to be some twigs made of titanium alloy for that bear to like just totally crush that. I mean, obviously, I just was thinking it and I wasn't like criticizing it because I'm not going into this film with my critical lens on, like I was laughing at it.
That's a good time for a critical lens because I didn't want too much Deus Ex Machina to make her survive because then it feels less earned. The more she survives and she shouldn't have, the more I feel like she was given too many Super Mario lives, right? Because then it's not interesting. If you're playing Super Mario and you have infinite lives, suddenly it's not as interesting, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I enjoyed this film and I don't know. It's like certain films where I kind of like if I watch a trailer or even if I just start off watching it, like right off the bat, once I saw like the spaceship in the sky, I was like, this is a Predator or an Alien movie or something. And then when they showed the Predator, I was like, okay, let's take off my analytical hat. Obviously like fair is fair when you're reviewing,
Mm-hmm.
But I find that if you're looking to scrutinize this movie like you would a Marriage Story, it's like, what are you doing? Watch something else.
No, I do. That's what I do. That's my life.
There's the moment where her and the young lion are walking on the tree, and I'm like, that branch would have snapped. There's the moment where she falls off and hits her head on the rock. She would have been dead. She would have had severe
Right. I didn't feel like a rock needed to be there. She could have just fell out of the tree and got knocked out.
It would have made more sense. Even when they find Pooey, the guy that got injured by the lion, I'm like, that lion was attempting to kill Pooey.
Yeah. Well, how could it have dragged him all the way over here? And not why?
I mean, the lion could have, but if it was attempting to kill Pooey's corpse would have been there, not.
Yeah, I was hoping they'd find Pooey dead, but I was focusing on the girl. And what I
But these
noticed,
weren't things that bothered me.
see, I guess my brain wasn't as on as it should have been, but I'm kind of glad about that. But one thing I noticed is that she would constantly be in a group of people, right, that would get attacked by the predator, and everybody else would die. And some people would look at that and be like, "Oh, of course she survived because she's the main character." But I look at that and I say, like, I don't want a protagonist to get things without sacrifice, right? And if the people around her are dying, I feel like that's a big sacrifice. So that placates me.
For the tribe, for her, I feel like the only sacrifice was her brother.
Actually, I disagree because I mean I know they had their spats, right? But there's a moment when she fights her tribal people, right? And it looks like it's gonna get brutal. It gets pretty brutal. But then after, like when they hear a noise, and even before like are after the predator, they like tie her up and they're like, "You're gonna stay here." So I felt like a lot of it is like you're being insolent. Like we're the bigger.
Here's the thing, I think they care about each other. They're brothers and
Yeah, and they
sisters.
could have been cartoonishly evil.
I mean, the one dude, he was a bit cartoonish. Like, let's
I
not.
felt like I've known people like that.
Cartoonish people can be real people.
Well, when I say cartoon, because here's what I'm thinking: the way the fight ended, it very much seemed like because it was escalating to a point where I was like, "Oh, they're gonna start wanting to kill you." But I don't think they ever at any point wanted to kill her. They were angry.
Oh, they just wanted her to bring her thick-headed ass back home.
Yeah, they were angry and they wanted to show her she was wrong, and that's all.
Yeah.
Like they didn't want to go past that. They didn't want to like get punitive damages out of her, right? And I felt like that was the kind of thing you'll see in siblings, where siblings will fight, but then once something interrupts them, that they're still siblings. They're on the same side, and I appreciated that.
I think they were close. What I was saying is that how she feels about her brother is not the same, and her mother is not.
No, of
It's
course
not the same
not. It's
relationship.
not the same.
Clearly, the most important things to her is proving to herself and everybody else that she can be a hunter. And then it's her brother, her mother, and Sadi, her dog.
Yeah.
The other guys, obviously, she cares about because those are her extended
family.
Right? But like the dude that's like talking smack to her while they're like hiding out waiting on the lion, and he's like, "Yeah, Naru, you're not shit. You're not gonna be shit. When this lion come, me and Tabe, we gonna kick his ass." And then the lion's like, "Jokes on you." I'm pretty sure when she woke up and her mom was like, "Drink this," she wasn't like, "Oh man, I hope he's okay."
She was ready to move. She knew he was dead. She wasn't gonna, focus on.
But that's all I'm getting at when you say that she had to lose a lot.
She did sacrifice. She didn't sacrifice like loved ones.
The tribe had to lose a lot, but her, Naru herself, Sadi's still alive. Her mom's still alive.
Did you think the dog was gonna die?
People are really particular about animals dying in films. Like, I know a good amount of people that will be more angry and hurt if an animal dies compared to a human dying. But no, I didn't think that Sadi was going to die. I'm laughing now because I'm thinking of when Sadi distracted the bear and the bear started chasing him. I'm like, that bear would instantly caught that dog. Bears run really fast. I don't think people realize.
No, yeah, I've been told that is some people were told like or assumed if you run downhill, you can get away from a bear because they have like short back legs. But
they're going to die.
Yeah, like don't do that. They can run faster than you down a hill.
Yeah, I guess we should go back to prey, huh? Well, the bear is a part of prey.
Yeah.
Before I forget, I do want to say that the tribe, the Comanche, they also go by another name. I don't remember it, so I'm not going to sit here and try to guess and be disrespectful. But when they were speaking their language, you talked about in the beginning, you started off by saying how these shots of nature was very transformative for you. I wanted that full immersion, and I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
When I was watching this, I was like, I only wanted them to speak Comanche.
Yeah, I
didn't want to hear any English. I was ready to just read some subtitles.
I was surprised because, and it was likely because I just got done watching all that anime in Japanese. But when they started speaking English, I was like, what the hell? They know English? And then what I was able to shut it down. I was like, okay, I like English.
It's like, you need to hand me that Coca-Cola.
And it was also kind of jarring because they would go back and forth. Certain words they would sprinkle in to the English.
Yeah, like drink this in Comanche.
Right.
And then she'd be like, drink it. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's like a multilingual family.
Yeah. And I liked it, half of it. But what was really odd was when they met the French Canadians. And like I've seen it so many times in so many other movies where there's like this noble savage character that gets caught, in a cage and they can't understand in the cage, right? And so it's this feral, and maybe somebody tries to talk to.
You're telling me the translator comes up, he's like, I speak Comanche.
Right, that was really weird. He's like, I speak
And they're
Comanche.
speaking English.
No, he's like, I speak many languages, and I wanted her to be like, well, why would you assume I speak English?
Honestly, I would have really enjoyed if they had did that. I think that would have been a great spark of humor. And like, just like those small, just tiny doses. Like I think that would have been excellent. It didn't happen, but
No, it didn't.
too bad.
But that guy,
Go ahead.
that guy ended up, having a bigger role than I thought he would.
He got it eventually, but yeah, he did. Shout out to the Voyagers because they really showed up looking like cartoon characters. The intro shot was very ridiculous. I was like, this is funny.
What I liked about it was the
Yeah.
switch. So you knew the person in the cage, what they were saying.
Yeah.
But you didn't know. Did you have subtitles for the French people?
Yeah, the subtitles were on, but it wasn't translating everything.
Right.
I was kind of proud of myself.
Yeah.
The moment where he's about to like kill her or whatever, and the guy's like, we can use her. There was no translation for that.
Yeah, I got that. That was so amazing.
I did it. My stupid American brain did it.
Yeah, that was, I don't get that experience a lot where someone's speaking another language and I'm not handheld with subtitles, right?
Yeah, because I don't actively study French, so I was proud. I was like, yeah.
But there's a scene, and I had gotten to we had a difference of opinion because they're about to leave the camp, right? The French guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, what should we do with this? What should we do with the dog? And the one guy, when I heard what he says like, j'aime chien, right?
Yeah.
And I translated it to, I love dogs, is what I was imagining.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody translated it as, I love dog, as in he was going to eat the dog, right?
Oh, okay.
So he takes out the knife. Now she doesn't know what he said. So she could think that he said, I love dog, and he said, I love dogs. But I enjoyed, it was like a little puzzle. Like,
I want to add, well, I don't want to interrupt.
No, I was just going to say I liked how they made the white people the foreigners.
I mean, it's a whole another conversation.
Go on, what were you going to say?
Outside of that, I did like that, when I initially brought up just wanting like the full immersion of them speaking their tongue and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for options in the subtitles. I was like, maybe they were like really respectful towards the community.
I heard.
I heard it too, but I didn't have the option.
I heard it was coming. I heard it's not like, I don't know if they do DVD box sets anymore. It's a streaming movie. That would be dumb. But I heard it was going to be an option. And I remember, I was going to ask you that question because I remember Apocalypto and like Passion of the Christ. Mel Gibson was big on like immersion of the language, and I didn't get it back then. I was like, I don't need to hear Jesus speaking, all this stuff. But for this movie, I would have appreciated it. Maybe it's because I'm old.
What a sentence! When I was looking in the options, I was unaware of this. Right? It said English, and then it said English. I don't remember what else actually. It says English audio description. I was like,
oh yeah, I watched the sequel. Oh my god.
I clicked on it, and it was the scene where they skinned all the buffalo because that's what Voyagers did. They sold furs and all that. And when she puts the totsia, she puts the orange totsia on like near the horn of the animal. I'm watching it now with the English audio description, and she's speaking in Comanche, and it translates some of it. And then the English audio description is like, Nadu says a short prayer. And I was like, oh wow, this is like, I assume that it's for the visually impaired.
Right.
And I was like, this is such a beautiful thing that all films should have, because I didn't know this was a thing. I'm not even visually impaired, but I was so happy to the point where I was like, I want to rewatch this movie.
So one thing I want to say, and this is an example maybe of me thinking too much into the movie, the Kutamia, right? I felt like some people would look at that as a dumb contrivance of the story. Oh, you have to hunt something that's hunting you. But I totally got like how cool that was, because to me, like if I play games on my phone or whatever, I'm not interested all that much if there's not a human being on the other side. Because if there's not a human being on the other side, I feel like the deck is stacked in my favor, kind of designed for me to win. Even if it takes me like 50 tries to beat the game, I'll be like, well, I'm supposed to do that. Whereas if I beat another person, somebody that was trying to beat me, I can actually feel a sense of accomplishment rather than just feeling like, oh, that was a good waste of time. So maybe, it's a big leap between, life and death situation and games on my phone. Like there's so many things in the movie just like that where I was in the character, like there's a scene, there's a dialogue scene, and they're asking her, why are you trying to do this? Why are you trying to push this? Why are you trying to be a hunter? And the response she gives is, because you guys think that I can't, right? And they could have done so many things. They could have given her a backstory where it's like, oh, my father, he wanted me to do this, or, to have that simple response would normally, I would expect me to be like, oh, this character's stupid. They're going to get themselves killed because they're trying to be a hotshot maverick, right? But I heard her say that, and something clicked in me about how if I'm not fighting somebody else, another whole human being, because I constantly want to prove people are wrong. I constantly want to, change ideas, change minds, and like, I feel weird saying fight the status quo, but like somehow I related to this character so much.
I think that, yeah, she's a relatable character. When she says that, when she's telling her mother, I want to do this because nobody else thinks I can. I think the primary reason, the most basic reason she wants to do it is because she doesn't get any type of excitement or feeling from gathering. She enjoys the thrill of the hunt. That's when she's at her happiest, when you can see her practicing her tomahawk skills, when you can see her coming up with better ways to use the tomahawk by tying twine to it, when you can see her tracking, when she's more vocal and expressive. She loves that aspect of their culture. And when she tells her mother, because nobody thinks I can, to me, that's just like the young teenager mind.
You're not my mom.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's like, fuck you.
No, I took it to heart. I was taking it as if she meant that.
I think what that line meant to me more is it spoke about her personality more than anything, where she was like,
yeah,
fuck you, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, and I felt like I could imagine me in like a situation like that where it's like I'm gonna go, I'm wake up in the morning and I'm like I'm gonna start my day and I'm gonna go get some berries. I'm gonna find the best berries, right? And I see everybody run past me and they're like, oh, we gotta go kill this lion, right? And they're like, you can't come, you would just slow us down. They'd be like, oh, well, you should probably just go get some berries. And I'd be thinking, well, I was gonna do that, but now I'm pissed off, Like now, I don't want to get berries because you told me I should.
Now I'm gonna hunt this lion. That would be your.
Yeah.
That's funny because that would be my polar opposite. My response would be like, "Yeah, I mean, I was gonna pick these berries anyway, so I don't have the desire. Like, I had the desire to do what I wanted to initially do. I don't have the desire to adhere to other people's expectations or feel the need to prove them wrong.
I'm ready to say that it's unhealthy to base my desires off of what other people think.
I think there's a lot of things to it, and there's benefits to your approach, and there's benefits to my approach, and there's disadvantages to your approach and disadvantages to mine. I don't think it's a black and white thing. I think there's a harmony, if you will, that you need to find.
I was going to ask you, do you think this one is better than the original?
So I don't remember the original too well, but I'm going to be honest, like there's a clear bias because that era of the Macho Man is kind of gone, like the only really movies that we have is like The Rock, but those are more so like comedy as well.
Yeah, because you can't play big muscles straight anymore.
You can, it's just people don't, right? And I know like some people might be like, oh, what about Jason Statham? I think Jason Statham is very skilled, but I've never seen him. He's not in that category of like the buff macho dude, right? Like he's not.
He kind of was in Expendables, but I've been wondering when the next Jason Statham movie is coming out.
But in the Expendables, don't get me wrong, like I love Zija Vismistananda, I love Tony Jaa, but he was in that group where it's like they're with the Macho Man, but they're not like. They're not like muscled out, and some people might be laughing. It sounds like I have this fascination with muscle dudes. But like growing up and seeing that on the screen, like all these huge dudes, these big guns, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. And then every movie had like that similar type of atmosphere, whether it be Stallone or Arnold or Jean-Claude, that era is gone. So I don't compare the two. That may seem weird to other people, but they're both Predator movies, but the feeling is a bit more different, where the Arnold Predator is just like, get to the chopper. We gotta get the fuck out of this jungle. We gotta kill this motherfucker and we gotta live. Whereas this one is like, I need to prove to myself that I am the person that I envision. And oh yeah, there's a Predator too. Tonally, it's very much a Predator movie, but there's that added layer that the Arnold movie doesn't have.
Exactly.
But because that Arnold movie is like such a strong part of my childhood, and I don't remember it super well, but I remember my fondness for it. That's where the bias and the nostalgia starts to kick in. I don't feel the need to compare the two, but even if I were forced to, I don't think you could really qualify my answer because there's a clear bias. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
but I feel like I agree with what you said about how this is a Predator movie, but also you're following this girl and her story, right?
Yeah, it's much more of a character-driven story, whereas the Arnold movie is just like, "Fucking kill this motherfucker, yeah!"
Yeah, I think they start off with that sentiment, that attitude, and then have to be a lot more serious. And it seems like a rejection to me, and I'm not the only one,
Mhm.
of that era of big muscled macho men.
Are you saying that there's like a sub-layer to it that's speaking to a higher message?
I think they definitely saw a trend of the big muscles, and they were like, "We're gonna show you how like useless this can be in the wrong situation." Right?
Well, I mean, it was useless back then. That's what made it
Yeah, but
such a good
people.
movie.
No, I'm saying that about the original Predator. That's what I'm saying. The original Predator was like, all this manly macho stuff that you see in all these movies.
Yeah.
These, Van Damme and Seagal, and
Don't say Steven Seagal in that
he was
line.
a manly guy. He was trying
Listen, he's accomplished a lot of stuff, but don't even get me started about
to.
Steven Seagal. Anyways, he just pushed people in every one of his
He
movies.
just pushed. No, he had the
That's all
he
he
had the
does, bro.
cool like Batman voice, and his
Bruh, he literally just shoves
how
people
much of
around.
being an action star is the bravado and the walk and the talk.
Here's my thing is that like he did a lot of martial arts ish movies.
Ish movies.
He has a storied career in martial arts. Like he has like a lot of legit belts and stuff. But like you watch his movies and he get paid a lot of money to shove people.
Yeah. Well, if I look at, I just saw a Jean Claude Van Damme movie. Which one was it? Double Target, Double Impact. And I like action movies, as much as the next guy. But I was watching that movie and I'm thinking, this isn't the quality of fighting that I expect when I go to see an action movie. This is not it, And I know Jean Claude Van Damme can fight, but I feel like back then, shoving people was all people needed, you know?
Jean Claude, I'm not gonna say every movie he gave it his all because he was one of the highest paid
He could
actors.
do things physically. He could jump higher.
What I'm saying is like, yes, he had extreme athletic prowess and he was a good martial artist. However, he didn't always use it in every film. He didn't need to. There was a point where people loved him as almost as much as they loved Eddie Murphy,
Yeah, he had a personality. He was lovable.
I definitely feel like he took it easy in some films, kind of like how Donnie Yen takes it easy in some films. But Steven Seagal, as far as like martial arts wise within his films, he's never done anything that I would consider worth paying for.
No, I would agree with that. I'm just, But he was trying to be in the same team, right?
He was, despite how I feel, he was in that
And
category.
he made a lot of money. I would say he was successful.
And I'm not saying that he's not successful. I'm just saying I don't care for his films. And although he is in that class of like macho
Mhm.
dudes, just the reality of it, he is in that class. Me personally, I never thought like he belonged in there. It's kind of like if you were like, oh, all the great martial arts film stars. You got Jackie Chan, Donnie Yen, Sammo Hung, Bao Yan, Jet Li, Tony Jaa, Jisha Yanin, and then somebody's like Kevin Hart. That's how I feel about
Wow.
Steven Seagal.
Wow. I did not think you were going to Kevin Hart
I'm
him.
being honest. I like Kevin Hart. He ain't no martial artist. Steven Seagal is a martial artist. That's what's frustrating about it. Anyways, anything else you want to talk about? Whip Prey, I guess.
I just want to say real quick that I appreciated, and maybe I was foolish for even thinking this was a possibility, but I appreciated that it didn't fall into what I would call the BVS syndrome, where I see a lot of movies that are set up to be this versus
Did you say BV
BVS, as in
than Batman
yes.
vs Superman? Why you do that? Well, didn't we talk about not bringing up Zack Snyder?
I said BVS. It could have stood for anything. You asked.
I'm not stupid. I know what you mean.
Anyway, I see a lot of movies. Should I say King Kong versus Godzilla syndrome? Is that better?
You said it. You already said it. Just continue.
BVS just sounds more easy. It rolls off the tongue. Anyway, the problem with these movies that set up like this versus this,
Mhm.
a lot of times if you're supposed to like both of them, then there's a convenient third enemy that comes out of nowhere in the third act that they both have to team up to fight so that nobody actually wins the this versus this argument, right? And they actually did it in the last Predator movie because they were like, "Oh, you like these guys? They're funny. They're manly. They're cute, aren't they?" And also this other, you think predators are cool, don't you? So why don't we try to merge the humans and the predators so that there's like an evil predator that they work against, and there's this suit so that the humans can look like predators, and they team up so that they can fight the real enemy. It's not crazy of me to think that they were going to go down that road because they did in the last Predator
Hmm.
movie. But also, I was watching this movie and I was thinking, I like her, she's cool. And also, I was thinking, this Predator's cool. And I was like, oh no, I like them both. Are they going to try and not make me sad by having one of these not die? And they didn't.
That was a thought that you had?
Yes, because they've done that to me in the past. I've been disappointed.
They've hurt me. I mean, I love Naru. I think she's awesome, but again, it's like I approach this movie as in like I'm just looking to have a good time. The critical glasses were
Yeah.
off. I think that Naru. I keep wanting to call her Danny. I don't know why. I think that Naru is very relatable. I think a lot of people who have kind of been dissuaded from the path that they want to take by everyone else, by their peers. I think anybody can find solace in Naru's struggle as a character, right?
Mhm.
I will say, is it just me? But it's not too much Predator in the movie.
I felt like you don't want too much Predator in the movie.
It's kind of like how I felt about Robert Pattinson's Batman film, where I was like, I loved this movie, but I wanted him to biff a little bit more, just one more biff, and I would have been happy. That's kind of how I feel about Prey. It's like, let me just get one more scene of the Predator killing somebody. But what I also wanted, but I realized this may not be Predator, because as I said, I haven't seen too many of the films. It would have been nice if something was just like a little bit more of a challenge to him, rather than him just being
It
this
did seem
ungodly.
bad. Like, and that's ever since every Predator movie.
The biggest threat right off the bat to him seemed to be the bear,
The
right?
bear, yeah, which made sense, right?
I don't know. I
Yeah, it would have been better if he had to struggle fighting all the people, because theoretically he was working his way up the food chain, right? He started with the
Yeah.
snake and then the wolf and then the bear. So it's kind of anticlimactic to end on, pathetic puny humans, right? And even the humans with the guns didn't seem to hurt him that much. Like he patches himself up later.
The arrows did more damage than the guns.
Yeah, so it would have been better. I mean, the brother put up a good fight, but even the brother, I was like, this seems like this should be hurting him more than it is. And as a horror movie, I think that's where the schizophrenic, like trying to be seen as a horror movie, but also as an action movie, kind of shows itself. Because as a action movie, you want a challenge, you want evenly matched foes like hurting each other. But as a horror movie, you want to be like, wow, this thing is unkillable. I just need to run. You know?
You really consider this a horror film?
Well, I'm saying Predator movies have always been on the line.
Do you consider this a horror film?
I think it
You
has,
could say like multi-genre. That's
yeah, it has horror elements. It has like the scene where you said you liked in the tall grass where the predator's running after them. Very reminiscent to me of Jurassic Park, like the second or the third one where they're in
I
the.
guess I wanted you to commit because everything can have horror. The fucking Toy Story can have horror elements.
Yeah, but nobody's gonna be like, oh, hey, why don't we watch a horror movie tonight? And then you're scrolling through and it's like, hey, Toy Story 3.
You've never seen the algorithm for various streaming platforms, then, because I'm sure you can find that.
Well, Toy Story 3 did have some horrific moments. But if I look at it, I don't think they wanted to commit to one genre. I think they wanted the horror fans. I think they wanted the action fans. They wanted the science fiction fans. They wanted the, old timey period piece survival fans. And I think they did a good job at getting all of them and pleasing all of them.
This isn't a complaint, and I don't know if I felt this way while watching it, but in this moment, I kind of feel this way. But I feel like a lot of sequences, whether it be like a chase sequence or a fight sequence, very brief. Like after I let like my initial feelings on the film kind of like settle in and marinate, there's a lot of brief moments. The film itself was it like an hour and 40 minutes, hour and a half. The film starts off with this normal pace. It's not a slow pace to me, it's normal. And then as soon as we get to the lion, it's like boom, 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 boom. Okay, credits. I could have used a bit more time to be in the moment. The scene where she dives in the water, maybe a moment where she's going down this violent stream.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be longer. Like he'd go after her, but she gets picked up with the current.
Yeah, like let me not just if the predator isn't gonna have anything to make him be like, oh fuck, besides the obvious Big Danny, then maybe.
Well, guns should.
But they didn't, right?
But they didn't.
maybe show me the beauty of nature, but also the violence of nature. Maybe have a moment where Danny can't just easily kill like a possum or a raccoon to get food. Maybe she struggles. Maybe she's scared or she's worried because the rainstorm is coming. Like, show me the elements of nature.
I felt that a little in the quicksand sequence.
I didn't. The reason why I say I didn't is just because, come on, bro. Everybody and their mama knew that she was going
Right.
to kill.
You knew she was going to get out, but for some reason, when she gets out, I'm imagining, and maybe it's because I've feared for my life before, and sometimes there's that moment where I'm like, I don't want to die like this.
Yeah. Here's the thing is, I like the film, I like Naru, but that triumph when she's like, yes, after killing the predator. I was with her, but I don't think I was with her as much as she was with her.
She didn't struggle enough for you? Is that why?
If I'm like thinking about it critically, I think there's two struggles, and I'm gonna say this very poorly because I'm thinking as I'm talking rather than already being prepared. But
I mean, honestly, you're gonna say it.
Well, I would be honest if I was prepared.
Raw and fresh.
Yeah, raw's a better
raw
word, and raw's actually a really good film. Can't say the same for Titane. Don't know why I got that award.
You're being me.
I just annoy myself by bringing up that movie. But her name's not Danny.
Her name's not Danny.
Naru, in that moment, with her triumphant, I did it, the bouncer, I beat him, Dominique moment. And then Dragon C. Mikado gets up for like the 18th time. It's an old reference that not many will get. But in that moment, I think it was more so how I viewed it for her was not that she was like, the predator was just an obstacle, right? But in that moment where she was like, yes, it was more so, I did it. See, Mom, I told you I could do it. See, Tribe, I told you I could do it.
Yeah.
Tabe, if you could see me now, I know you're proud, It wasn't so much, I finally overcame this alien warrior.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
So I was with her with the familial tribal aspect dichotomy to it, but when it came to the predator thing, I'm like, nah, dude, you didn't really struggle that much. It's kind of like when her brother killed the lion, and at first he was like, but you didn't. You can't hunt it. You just couldn't finish it. And then when they're tied up, he is being more honest with her and not as, hard on her. He's like, I was able to kill that lion because you wanted it. You tracked it, Yeah. It's kind of like that. The skirmish that she had with the predator was at the final. Wow, my brain just died. Was at the film's finale, right? The other skirmish, it was like her brother was doing a lot of the work on that horse.
Yeah.
So that moment, the one aspect was triumphant, but the actual predator aspect, I wasn't quite with her. But with the family aspect, I was like, you see, motherfuckers, now she's warrior chief. But as far as like, if they would be like, yo, I don't know, it's a dragon that came to kill the tribe, and they'd be like, we need the strongest warriors. I would be like, Naru, come along, but maybe let's get that buff dude over there.
Naru.
I'm still not super convinced. If somebody asks me, like, why is Naru war chief? I'd be like, well, she earned it. And they'd be like, so she passed her Katamiya? And I'd be like, it was kinda.
Only 100%. And so there's that moment when the mother, which was trying to be wise, right? It's like, it's not about, like, proving yourself. It's about surviving, right? And so if you look at the predator, he comes down, and I always can convince myself it's not a big deal, because if you look at the predator and he's got these laser guns and he's got shields and he's freaking invisible, right? It's kind of not fair.
Yeah, it's like, you're cool, bro. Look at the ultimate warrior that you are. Like,
yeah. So like the predator starts out cheating. So then if I cheat, I don't feel like I'm actually cheating. This is the game we play. And I feel like the game is not like who's the baddest badass. The game is like who lives, because that's the game of life. It doesn't matter.
That's not the game for the predator that's doing the hunting. That's the game for the humans. Maybe that's the game for the predator when he's in his society, when everybody is on the same playing field as him. But when he goes to hunt the weaker species, at no point is it about surviving for him. It's just about him adding to his trophy case.
He didn't think it was about surviving, but it was.
Bruh, he was literally ripping out skulls for his trophy case, bruh. Like, it was...
Yeah, but then he died. He got his skull ripped out, literally.
Even in his moment of death, he died because of his arrogance. It wasn't... Right. I don't think he ever felt like, oh man, am I gonna make it out of here?
Yeah,
where's my ship?
His feelings aren't what you're looking at. Like if you're making a game or like a Hunger Games, and it's like Nadu and the Predator and an alien and whatever in this place, they're gonna have, you can imagine, an RPG with character sheets, and they have like, he has a strength of 18 and she's got a strength of 7 or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things on that character sheet would be like hubris. And one of the things on that character sheet, well, in certain games, it might be like luck, right? And so if you go out there and you do it and you survive, you come back. And it's just like what I do in my job, where if there's a problem that somebody has to fix and I fix it, if it's an easy problem, it's still, I fixed it. You know, like it's still, I was there and I did it. It doesn't matter how hard it was, it doesn't matter how much I struggled. It matters that I did it and you didn't. Right? Not you personally, but like everybody else that I'm working with. Right? And so it's like she comes back with that head. It's like, yeah, he might have slipped on a rock, but I was there when he slipped on that rock and I got this head. And you go out and you find your own predator and you hope he slips on a rock and you tell me how that works out for you. But until then, I'm better than you. That's what I feel like.
Wow,
Not
that's
me.
But to me, that mindset, maybe I'm thinking about it wrong. I feel like if you're applying that mindset and sticking to it, then if you were the predator, when Naru got her ass trapped in that bear trap, you would have killed the fuck out of her and ripped her skull out and be like, "This is my trophy. I did it."
I did.
And then I would be there like, "But I mean, did you really do it, bro?" You see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. When
the context.
when you're in the wild, like you're alone and you come back or you don't.
Of course, of course, like
You'd
the
be the
reality
guy
of
that I
it
come
is
back
that
to. You'd be the father predator in the spaceship that was like, so how'd it go? I'd be like, I did awesome. You wouldn't even understand. Like those were the most crazy humans you'd ever see. You wouldn't even
and
comprehend.
I would see through your bullshit
I would see.
because
I'd be like,
that mindset,
you go down and you fight those humans.
but that mindset is so easily detectable in people.
But if you look at Naru, right? What I like about
Mhm.
her, and people look at, like I read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. I haven't read a lot of books. People will look at Sun Tzu and they'll try to put it onto business, grind mindset, and you just keep going. And, and there's a lot of stuff business wise they try to put into it. And if I look at Naru, right, at the beginning of the movie, the person that she is at the beginning of the movie is not the same person. She's more capable at the end than she is at the beginning. And what I look at it is like a business. The people that succeed at business, as far as I can tell, I don't have a whole bunch of millionaire friends. As far as I can tell, there's a whole bunch of people trying to start their own businesses and do stuff, and a whole bunch of them that fail, or because they trusted the wrong people, they were born into the wrong family, they just bad luck, weather, whatever, right?
There's a lot of reasons.
There's a lot of reasons. So those people that succeed, one of the reasons is luck. Another reason is perseverance, right? Because if you fail and you try again, and then you fail and you try again, then that's perseverance. But at the same time, if you fail, some people fail that first time so horribly because of luck, they can't try again. Like they're physically incapable or mentally incapable or whatever, right? So if you fail and then you can try again because of luck or because of your brother, right? And you try again, you get better, right? And eventually you can become a millionaire, right? And I look at, I was going to say Danny. I look at Nadu, right? And I see her as she came back, and coming back with that predator head is the equivalent to me as like becoming a millionaire. And if you become a millionaire, you can't have people telling you like, oh, it's just because you were lucky. Every millionaire was lucky at some point, but not everybody stuck it through. And the thing about Nadu is that there were constantly ways which she could have just turned the other way and it would have been perfectly fine, perfectly honorable. Nobody would have said like, you're a terrible person because you didn't want to fight this.
God, Blue Hunt.
It's Blue Hunt?
Blue Hunt was in the New Mutants. The actress Blue Hunt.
Yeah, the girl you were talking about with the eyes, right? Yeah, her name is Danny. That's what I said. New Mutants. I knew I was right.
They don't look alike, but they both
No,
have
but
large
I
eyes.
knew I could peer inside your soul, and I understood.
I could see the racist that you are.
I didn't say racist.
Go ahead.
No, I think I said it. That was the point I was making.
I do agree with you that Danny is more capable. I guess the asterisk that I want to add is that fuck, man.
I wasn't sure if you said it on purpose because that would, it's a running gag at this point. You can say Danny. We know that you didn't say it on purpose.
No, but that's not the character's name. I deserve no respect. She's more capable by the end of the film.
It's because of her bravery.
For sure. The asterisk that I wanted to add is that the woman that she was at the end of the film was the same woman that was at the beginning of the film. The only thing that changed was her belief in herself. I don't want to make it seem like I'm in that group where it's like, oh, she's not really a capable warrior. I think she is a capable warrior.
Just not the best.
I guess ultimately what I wanted to say is that I wanted her and the Predator to have a bit more struggle.
I could get behind that.
Let's give our closing thoughts on Prey.
Now, after you've succinctly said it, I do think longer shots and harder struggles, more scrapes and burns and cuts, and just from nature, in addition to the fight scenes, would have been better. But yeah, that's one thing. And then good things. I liked the characterization. I think it's better than any Predator movie I've seen.
Okay. Representation, man. Historically, Native Americans haven't had the best roles. They barely have had any roles, and in the past, when they have had roles, hasn't been very kind to them. So the fact that they're in this, and the fact that there's a female, so that young Native American girls, and hopefully just young girls, can look at this female and be inspired by her character. I like that. At no point is Danny sexualized. I'm so happy to say that, because I feel like so many times when you do have, I mean, don't get me wrong, like you can be sexy and still be a role model, but a lot of times it's not done.
You should be able to not be
A lot
sexy
of
and be a role
times,
model also. You just need that variety.
a lot of times it's just done for the male gaze, not for female empowerment.
So well worded.
And that doesn't happen with Nanny. And
Naru.
God damn it. Just like not a credible review at all. That doesn't happen with Naru, and I'm so frustrated. I'm happy that it doesn't happen, but I'm also extremely frustrated that I even have to say something that shouldn't be an issue. This feels like the low-hanging fruit, but the CG was pretty wonky,
I
bro.
did think that when she was first even throwing the axe, I was like, "Oh, the CG in this isn't good." But I did like the Predator. Oh, one thing I didn't want to mention, just a tiny thing, is there was like a really fat bunny in the movie. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I was thinking that bunny would have been long dead.
I was thinking Bambi. Like this little bunny from Bambi. Hey, Bambi. You
Yeah, I
bunny?
remember Thumper. I liked Thumper.
Yeah, I just saw Bambi for the first time a couple weeks ago. It might be my favorite Disney film. Okay, so that is Prey.
Yep.